So how to design scale in SaaS? Number one, scale is not size. Size is just when you go from 1 million in ARR to 10 million in ARR to 100 million in ARR. That doesn't necessarily improve the unit economics of your business. Scale is when your unit economics improve the bigger you get. So I handle a lot of scale issues and scale design issues in the companies I work with, and I approach it in the following way. And I want to give you a framework with which to think about scale and which to design scale into the product. So the basic formula in SaaS is customer lifetime value over CAC. And the reason this is the basic formula in SaaS is that almost no SaaS companies are profitable when they launch, right? So you can launch a window cleaning business and be almost profitable on day one, right? Because it doesn't take a lot of upfront capital or development to get started, but in SaaS it does take a lot of upfront capital and development to get started. So that is why you take the lifetime revenue or profits that you hand out on customer, and then you divide it by the amount of money it takes to land that customer or acquire that customer. So customer acquisition cost, customer lifetime value. Okay, if we then want to break this down a little bit, value can mean a few things, but I would usually say it means revenue minus cost. And this brings us to scale. So because you can have three different types of scale. You can have distribution scaling, so meaning that the more units you sell, the cheaper they become to sell. Then you can have product of value scaling. Also sometimes network effects is in here, meaning that the more units you sell, the more valuable they become to the customers that you sell them to. And then finally, you can have cost scaling, meaning that it's also just sometimes called economies of scale. So the more units you sell, the cheaper they become to deliver. So I own a car manufacturing plant, and the first Tesla I built will cost, I don't know, $1 billion to develop, but the nth Tesla I built will cost way, way less, making it profitable for me to sell them at scale. So this is the first type of scaling that was developed in the manufacturing age and the industrialization. Then this came along, value scaling, with, I think the first famous example is radio and telephone. So the first guy owning a telephone, worthless to him. Then when number two person owns a telephone, they can call each other. When everybody in the world has a telephone, it becomes almost impossible not to have one, because now the value has increased with the number of customers that we have. So distribution scaling is virality. So Facebook had distribution scaling. You know, I went on Facebook, then I told all my friends to go on Facebook, they told all their friends, and suddenly everybody was on Facebook. So it took a lot of time to get the first users onto Facebook, but it took not a lot of time to get the last 100 million users onto Facebook. So these are the three types of scaling that we're going to work with, and they each affect this CLTV, lifetime value over CAC formula in SaaS. Okay, so now for how to design it. Okay, so we have the three different types of scale: cost, value, and distribution. So what we want to design for is how our product can leverage or use one of these types of scale. Everything starts with the user. But in SaaS, we want to understand the relationship between the user and the customer. And sometimes we have a very simple relationship where the user is the customer. I watch Netflix, I pay for Netflix. Okay, so the user is the customer. In other occasions, we have an example where the user isn't the customer, but they are the product. And in other times, we have a situation where the user is not the product and not the customer, but they are the distributor. Let me walk you through these. So when the user is the customer, we can sometimes attain economies of scale in the cost sense. So it's really, really expensive to produce or make Netflix, but once I have 100 million users, per user, it becomes much cheaper for me to deliver the service. If I have another product, let's say I have Facebook, and I start to distribute it to more and more people because everybody is now on Facebook, it becomes more valuable to everybody on there. And then to create that product, it becomes easier. But the user is not the customer, they're the product. So who are we selling Facebook to? Well, we're taking all the users for whom it becomes much more valuable to be part of it, and then we're selling them as audiences to people who want to advertise, right? So we're taking the users, we're creating the eyeballs or the attention, and then we can run paid media on it. And then that paid media is then sold to whoever wants to sell something on Facebook. But the core is that the more people join, the more it is actually worth, because the more valuable it is for me as an advertiser to go to Facebook and just market there. Similarly, Facebook also has distribution scale, because everybody tells everybody else to also get on Facebook so that we can social media there together, right? I did a project for an open source company called Nime. They do data analytics, and they have an open source platform. They actually want to sell to large enterprise customers, but the immediate user is not the large enterprise customer. That's just you and me or everybody else who wants to use a free data analytics platform. So they give it away to free to their open source network, but a lot of these people actually work inside of large corporations, so they take it to their boss at work and say, hey, instead of using whatever it is that we're using, why not use Nime? It's really good. I have used it for years on my own. I am an expert, that's why you hired me. So couldn't we buy their paid license? And then that's what essentially takes the user, makes them a distributor, and then sells it to the actual customer, which is the corporate. Whenever you are designing a SaaS product, you need to say, well, what is our path to the end customer? And where does the user actually fit in? Because often the person paying for it, the customer, actually isn't using it that much, especially in B2B enterprise software. So you'll usually have a user that can be a data analyst, a teacher, someone else, but it's the organization or the CEO or procurement or IT or whatever the department is that actually owns the budget that is actually buying the software. So we want to figure out what the relationship is between the users and the actual customers or buyers of the software. And sometimes we have just a direct relationship where the more we sell, sometimes we get economies of scale. The problem with economies of scale from a cost perspective in SaaS is that everybody gets it. So you're not ahead in the race if you just get economies of scale, because all your competitors will get economies of scale as well. So you actually usually need to be really competitive to get some sort of network effect on your product, where the product becomes worth more the more people use it. So let's say that right now we have OpenAI. They are becoming worth more, partly because they are becoming a standard within AI, so everybody knows how to use the OpenAI platform. So that actually increases the value of the product outside of what they're doing. But also they have distribution because everybody is now working to distribute it to end customers and selling it on to everyone else. So I call this model the Cupid model. Customers, users, product, iteration, so because it happens over time, and then distribution. It's just a really fast acronym to be able to map out like what are the component parts I need in this in order to see how or if I will get to scale and what kind of scale I will get to and how it will affect my customer lifetime value over CAC. It's not high science, it's not something that you can sort of put into spreadsheets and use as, let's say, detailed optimization work, but it's a quick and dirty way to say, well, what is the play? What is it that we're trying to achieve with this product or this business? Are we just trying to do good work directly for customers? Are we trying to build a network effect? Are we trying to build some virality? How will that get us to the end customer? And then finally you map it out over time to say, well, how quickly can we take a user base and make it big enough so that we have a distribution base so that we get customers? What happens then? I use it with companies I work with, companies I invest in to the extent that I do that. And it's just a fast way to get to what I would consider the only 3 types of scale that actually exist, because these are the ways in which you can affect the core unit economics and the economics of a SaaS business. So I hope it helps you. Hey there. So
I create these videos for free so that you can take your great SaaS product and turn it into a great SaaS business. So if you like the video and you got value from it, you should of course subscribe to the channel and also tell a friend. So write someone and say, hey, you're in SaaS, this guy talks about SaaS, maybe there's something in there for you. So that is the only way that this channel actually grows or these videos gets around. And this is sort of how I try to provide value to everyone. I have a network of clients that I have, and I get most of my business from referrals only. So the reason I make the videos and write the books and so forth is actually to just provide value to everyone else, because I can only be in one place at a time. So my hope with all these videos is just to do more good in the world. And if you tell a friend or you share, you can help me do that. So thank you.